Hi, my name's Rebekah from angelfoods.net, and today we're going to do a ganache tutorial. So I've grabbed an 8-inch cake board, and this is what we're going to stack the cake on. It's going to fit perfectly. There'll be no edges to the cake board showing outside the cake. And I've just grabbed another cake board to have underneath, just so I can use it to move the cake around as I'm decorating. And I've got my ganache. I'm just going to get my palette knife. I'm going to use a little angled palette knife. I'm quite fond of him. We're just going to glue the cake board down a little bit, and then we're going to glue it again. So we're gluing the cake down on this one, and then we push it down. And we get him to the centre of the cake board. Now we're saying we're going to have 3 layers. So you're going to have 1 layer of cake ganache, 2 layers of cake ganache, and then 3rd layer of cake with ganache. Now, to have it even more amazing, there's something called sugar syrup. And this is what a lot of professional cakers use in between each cake layer. It is made from sugar and water. That's equal portions, so 1 cup water, 1 cup sugar, and you boil it for about 8 minutes, and it comes to a thicker consistency than water. So not before it turns to toffee, you want it much before then. And I've added vanilla in there as well as extra flavour. So with a sugar syrup, you can actually flavour in a lot of ways. You can liqueur it, that's the most popular way, so you can add your brandies or white rum. If it's a cherry cake, you add a cherry liqueur. If it's a coffee cake, add a Tia Maria. There's lots of different ways to change your sugar syrup to suit your cake and make it even more luxurious. So you see that I just drizzled some on, then I've used my fingers to even it out. I prefer to use my fingers rather than say a pastry brush, for example, because I actually find that pastry brushes hold the bacteria. So I know my fingers are clean, I've washed them, I'm going to wash them again, so I prefer to use my fingers just to spread it out. Now we're adding a layer of ganache, so I'm just scraping it out of my bowl of ganache we made earlier, and it's just cooled down in the fridge, so it's this consistency. We want it quite thick. And then I'm using the Queen's Wave, which we talk about more in the cake decorating tutorial with buttercream. I'm using it to smooth it around and push it over the edge. I'm not worried about it being perfect and flat. It doesn't need to be. It really, really doesn't. So we've just finished layering it, or torting the cake as you could call it. And we put the sugar syrup on the top, and now we're going to ganache the sides, or crumb coat it. Crumb coating is the first layer of either ganache or buttercream on the sides. It's going to stop the crumbs coming into the cake any further. This is the stage that you want to check the sides. You want to check how even or level they are. I'm renowned for getting them really askew, really off, and not checking. And then I go to put fondant on it, and it's a really off cake. So now's the time to do it. If it's to the side, you can cut your layers off and move them back over. But as you're layering it, if you keep note of it as well and keep an eye on it. Otherwise, you can always get a knife and trim anything that doesn't look very nice or is a bit uneven. So now I'm going to crumb coat it. I've grabbed a palette knife of ganache. And I'm going to do a really quick, thin coat of ganache. So I've kept this board underneath so that I've got something that I can turn. You can do this on a turntable, like I said, but I'm happy working either way. So you can see where, like down the bottom, it requires more ganache, then the center is showing up a bit more here, but with 2 layers of ganache, I'm going to aim for 2 layers. Everyone's different. Some people just do the 1 layer, some people do 3 or 4 layers. Depends what you want out of your cake. If it's a wedding cake and it's luxurious and you've got the flavors and fillings, and if they've paid quite a lot for it, you'd probably want to do really thick layers of ganache so that the customer's getting more value for money. Whereas if it's just a friend's wedding cake or your son and daughter and you're happy with one layer, and that's absolutely fine. So that's a crumb coat. So I'm trying to get a thin layer as possible. Doesn't need to be perfect. I don't want many waves in it because I'm going to pop it in the fridge very soon, let the ganache set, and bring it out and put the final layer on it. So if it's got waves in it, because they'll be cold and set, you won't actually be able to get them out later. Get the waves out. Okay, and then we're going to do a quick layer on top as well. So crumb coating the top. I've just popped him back out of the fridge. He was in the fridge for just 5-10 minutes, not very long, and that's because the icing had already set, or the ganache had already set a little bit from the coolness of the cake, and because I'm working in air conditioning. We did the crumb coat and now we're doing the final coat. So like I said, you can do more coats if you want. I'm super happy with 2 coats, especially because I've torted the cake and I've got so many layers of ganache and sugar syrup in there. And it's going to have fondant on top as well, that I really don't think this cake needs any more icing or chocolate or ganache on it. But that's my personal preference. Okay, so we're just throwing the ganache on again. We really are. It's very, very quick. So I'm just using big fat palette knivefuls, throwing it on, using the queen wave backwards and forwards to detach the ganache from the palette knife. We're going to even it out and take a bit off soon. And we're back to the join. Pull it away. Okay, because this ganache is setting so quickly, I'm just going to do the sides now, but you could always leave it if you wanted to and do the top first. So I'm just using the edge of the palette knife on an angle and smearing and then pulling away. And I did miss up the top with that smear, so I'm going to do it again. It's just learning how much pressure to put and where to put it. That's all it is. And just because I've done it quite a few times is the only reason that I can do it a little bit quicker. Once you practice and do it a couple of times, you will be able to do this too. And I'm not a perfectionist. I don't want this 100% amazing, either crumb coat or the second layer. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm happy with looking amazing. Okay, so pretty happy with that edging. I'll leave that for the moment. And now I want to do the top. So I'm going to pile a bit of ganache on top. Whoop, drop some, but that's cool. More chocolate, the merrier. Okay, so again, we've built it up at the side so it's coming out over the top. And then we're using the wave technique again to evenly disperse. I'm gonna get chocolate everywhere. Evenly disperse that ganache all over the top of the cake. And then to get these edges to become more of a right angle rather than messy, you bring them back up so the sides are straight first. And then we're going to pull our palette knives back towards the center again. That is the trick, that is the technique to get those edges. There's nothing else to it. And this would be the time to be aware of also if you're pulling too much away from one side and it comes at a bit of an angle, that you really don't want it as flat as possible. And we're nearly there. I don't like messing around with it too much because you can go for an hour, 2 hours if you wanted to get it more perfect, but in all honesty, it's going to be covered in fondant on top of this as well, so you're not going to notice it. Not that I believe anyway. And you're going to see the end result anyway, so you can tell me what you think. Alright, so now I'm just going to check it. I'm going to check how level it is on top and how level it is on the sides. And then I'm also seeing if I want to palette knife the sides anymore. I've got myself a beauty of a mess. It's all good. It's all fixable. A little bit more on this side, but in all honesty, I am super happy with that. There we go. And you can see how voluptuous it looks. It's well over 4 inches now. So it was 4 inches worth of cake, plus 3 layers of ganache. Amazing. Let's cover it in fondant. Thank you so much for watching my chocolate ganache tutorial. If you want to check out any other video tutorials or Angel Foods franchising opportunities, please check out angelfoods.net. My name's Rebekah from Angel Foods. Coffee makes it possible to get out of bed, but cupcakes make it worthwhile. Thank you so much.